Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.
Good evening, I'm Polly Kreisman. Welcome to The Local Live, LMC TV's hyper-local TV news show. It's Thursday, February 19th, and here's what's happening in our community. Food for thought? Join us in a roundtable discussion as we take a closer look at local farmers markets, the foods we eat, their nutritional value, and the current state of our agricultural landscape. Freedom of information, open meetings. Find out about why the Village of Mamaroneck is doing workshops on these topics. Stay tuned. The Hispanic Resource Center produces a show about the controversial health centers in Mamaroneck. We have details tonight. Want to complete your taxes for free? We may have the right spot for you at the Mamaroneck Public Library. Need to find out what's going on everywhere in Westchester? Burbio.com, a local calendar app, is in the spotlight. Find out how it can help you get organized. And attention, LMC TV varsity sports fans, our play of the week is on its way. Last Wednesday evening, the Village of Mamaroneck convened a meeting on the Freedom of Information Law, known by its acronym FOIL, and the Open Meetings Law. The Freedom of Information Act is a law that gives you the right to access information from the government, and the open meeting laws are designed to give citizens access to government meetings so they can understand decisions made by their elected representatives. The executive director of the New York State Committee on Open Government, Bob Freeman, hosted this educational workshop and emphasized reasonability and common sense.
Just right from the start is that both of the laws that we're talking about tonight, both in my opinion, are based primarily on reasonableness and common sense. Reasonableness and common sense. All they really say is that everything should be open except to the extent that disclosure would hurt either somebody in terms of an invasion of privacy, the government in terms of its ability to do its job well on behalf of the public, or on occasion, a private company vis-a-vis its competition. So the real question in so many instances is, what would happen if we had to disclose this record? What would happen if we had to discuss this issue in public? And this is an oversimplification, but generally speaking, unless the answer in the gut is, ouch, this would really hurt, chances are pretty good that openness should be the rule.
As a matter of fact, according to the Village of Mamaroneck fiscal year report on the village's website, 547 FOIL requests were made by residents of our community since June 1st of 2014. It turns out that 352 of them were made by a single member of our community, Dr. Stuart Tiekert. Mamaroneckinsider.com did an article regarding the many requests made by Mr. Tiekert, who also, according to the Insider, made nearly 300 additional requests in the previous 2 years. After the workshop, there was a Q&A segment with participation of local officials and members of our community. If you want to watch the full informational meeting, you can access it online at lmctv.org. In other news, the possibility of a school-based health center at the Mamaroneck Avenue School has prompted community residents to ask many questions. There's a report from the January 20th meeting of the Mamaroneck School Board where the school district's Wellness Committee Task Force presented its report.
We don't have a community medical center here in Mamaroneck that is comprehensive. There are hundreds of families that have to go outside of the community to get care. For those without a car, it's much harder and very expensive.
Everybody made some pretty good points. I didn't hear one person comment on what it's going to do about a population increase. There was mention of 180 families marked as homeless. How many additional families are we going to be drawing in homeless with a free health clinic in the school?
There is not a school-based health center on this planet that makes money. This is an organization with a solid sense of responsibility to the underserved and communities needing health care as well as other services.
But I have to say that if this clinic comes into Mamaroneck Avenue School, my children would no longer attend the school, and they're not happy about that. They already know that.
You can watch the whole school board presentation on www.lmctv.org. In order to inform the community on the issues of school-based and community-based health centers, the executive director of the Hispanic Resource Center, Zoe Colon, produced a show on LMC TV called Healthcare Access in Mamaroneck. The purpose was to answer questions raised by concerned parents. Lindsay Farrell, president of Open Door, and others joined Zoe Colon in a discussion about healthcare in Mamaroneck and why Open Door chose the Mamaroneck Avenue School for the health center.
Why in the world would we still want a school-based health center if you're going to have this community center 2 streets away, 2 blocks away?
Because the school-based health center is really the ideal model for children and for families, and we find that parents are very, very engaged when it comes to taking care of their children. In the school-based health center, we have access to the child year-round. In the health center, we see the child once or twice a year. So it's a very, very different model, and the robust model has significant impact on the fabric of the community, the capabilities of the school, and ultimately the success of the children.
So remember, if you want to watch the full Hispanic Resource Center show, you can log on to lmctv.org, that's lmctv.org, and check it out. This week's In the Media covers what's trending online and in our local newspapers. Let's hear Mike Witsch's take on what's happening.
Three stories in the Mamaroneck Review caught my eye. Rye Town may finally be dissolved. The paper reports that the village is resuming that discussion after months of a standstill. The goal is to eliminate an unnecessary layer of government. The village board will be looking at all the options. Have you seen the new Jefferson Avenue Bridge? The village is suing the construction company and the engineering firm for $4.4 million, claiming poor workmanship, damage during construction, and guardrails that are not up to code. Well, the Review now reports that the two firms may countersue. The trustees will have to decide if they want to hire a special counsel with expertise in construction law to help make their case. The Larchmont Village trustees voted recently to hire an administrator, the first time for such a position in that village. A consultant will interview candidates starting next month. Details in the Mamaroneck Review. Some exciting new classes start next month at the Center for Continuing Education. Registration is now in full swing. A story in the Patch announces 5 new members on the center's board of directors. To see what's being offered and to register for a class, visit their website, lmcce.org. And finally, is all this snow keeping you away from Broadway? Well, the Hamlet Hub reminds us that the popular musical Once Upon a Mattress is coming soon to McLean Auditorium. The Mamaroneck High School students will perform and do all the backstage work, too. Performance dates are February 26, 27, and 28. Says the paper, there will be surprises. For tickets, call the music department. Their phone number is 220-3140. Again, 220-3140. And of course, Rye Neck is also producing a musical. It is The Music Man. And their performance dates are the same, February 26th, 27th, and 28th. For details and to get your tickets, visit the school's website. Well, these are just a few of the stories that caught my eye this week in the media. I'm Mike Witsch.
Don't go anywhere. We'll take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be talking food in our live roundtable discussion. Find out where you can get farm fresh produce right here in Westchester and why that's important to you and your health.
right, Polly. Tonight we're going to be talking about food. I'm Mike Witsch, back in person as well as voice that you heard before. And food, glorious food, we all have to eat it, but where do we buy it? Some of us try to buy farm fresh, and we'll hear all about that. Some of us have to go to the supermarket, and we're attracted more by sales than we are nutritional value. And on our panel tonight, we have three people who are going to share their expertise and their knowledge. And I'd first like to introduce Miriam Haas and Jon Zeltsman. You folks operate Down to Earth Market, bringing fresh and local food to market. You are a husband and wife team, and you manage 15 farmers markets, including the ones in Mamaroneck and Larchmont.
That's
Welcome
correct.
to you.
Thank you.
And next to me is seated Elyssa Hurlbut. Did I get that right?
Hurlbut.
Hurlbut, sorry. You're a registered nurse, a dietitian, and a nutritional counselor. And your practice is private, and it's EH Nutrition, and it's based in Harrison.
You got that right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Miriam, you've been at this for more than 20 years.
Yes.
You founded the Ossining Farmers Market, I read, in a gravel parking lot back in 1991.
Yes, I had gone to the local government and I said, how come you don't have a farmer's market here? And they said, well, we used to have one. And I said, could I start another one? And they said, well, they gave me some concerns they were worried about. And I said, well, if I did the research and came back, would you consider it? So after about a month I had done my research, I came back and they said, okay, give it a try.
And it's still in operation?
It's the oldest one that we've organized. It's going into, I think it's 24th year.
Yeah. And Jon, you're now the president of Down to Earth Markets, and you take care of the company's finances and business development.
Exactly. Keep it doing what it's supposed to be doing, and making sure the back end supports the front end, and which is really serving the communities and finding the farmers and working with them and giving them a venue in which they can make a decent living.
And Elyssa, have you checked out the farmers markets?
I have. I try and go as often as I can.
Yeah. So folks, you've met our panel and you know the topic, and of course you can join the conversation by emailing us or calling us or tweeting us. And I'll be told that we have a question from time to time, and I'll interrupt the discussion and ask the question from our viewers. And the information that you need to know to contact us appears at the bottom of your screen, and it will be up throughout this conversation. So I was taken by your website. I'm looking at it tonight, and I saw at the bottom of the screen a quote from Hippocrates. Our food should be our medicine, and our medicine should be our food. That's often not the case these days.
It's not, but in my practice, when I work with people, I feel that food really is thy medicine. And I feel that everybody has their health potential, and it is my work with them that helps them realize that health potential by what they're actually putting in their bodies in terms of food and nutrients.
I'm sure you've heard the expression, we are what we eat.
Exactly.
That's true?
Well, I think so. I really believe it. I believe that what we eat has a strong impact on our health, how we feel day to day, our energy levels, and also whether we can arm ourselves to deal with chronic illnesses that we might be facing. You know, we can't choose our parents, so we all have a genetic potential, but yet we can choose to minimize our vulnerability to other lifestyle diseases such as heart disease, or even certain cancers.
And do you believe that that supermarkets and fast foods and restaurants and food additives and things like that contribute to lack of nutrition, or bad nutrition, I should say?
Well, it depends on how you approach the food system. I have people who come to me because they want to know exactly what they should be eating to maximize that health potential.
And can we rely on labels?
I think if you're educated and you know how to read it and what to look for, and everybody has to think about what's important to them. For some people, it's not important, and they just kind of go through their day, and then others are very, very intrigued and curious and want to do the best that they can for themselves and for their families.
Do you think later on you could share with us some nuggets of wisdom about food labels? What to look for and leave on the shelf?
Well, you know, you mentioned something at the very beginning as well, and that's shop the perimeter. And in the perimeter of the store, there really isn't a lot of food labels. That's where you're getting your freshest foods, and that's really where I want people to start first.
That's right. Alyssa's talking about something that I mentioned before the show started, that I had been down to Durham, North Carolina some years ago to the Duke Diet and Fitness Center. And one of the things they took us on a supermarket shopping tour. And they said, stay away from the middle of the store as much as you can, shop the perimeter. And that's where the vegetables are, and the dairy and the freshest stuff. But Jon and Miriam, we don't find farmers market, we don't find that stuff in supermarkets, do we?
Well, it's you will find a few local apples. I mean, if you look at the apples, basically some of the apples have labels, and when I pick up an apple, if I'm in the supermarket, I just want to see where they come from. Many of the apples that have the least flavor, like the apple from Washington, you can see it's from Washington State. If you look for an apple, it's called an Empire. The Empire is from Empire State, so that's our apple, and the Gala is probably from New York State. You can find some local apples.
But do you find that people more often are looking at labels like for sale? A sale item instead of the name of the apple.
That's true.
And wouldn't it be nice if there was a little label underneath the Gala apple that said sweeter or Granny Smith is bitter, more bitter?
Yeah, some of the stores are realizing that people are looking for local, and so they'll say onions, New York State, or apples, New York State, which gives you a better clue. And I think shoppers do want to be more educated. But if they go to the farmer's market, they know they can find the real deal.
Can you tell us about the farmer's market in Mamaroneck and Larchmont?
Sure. We have 2 markets on the Sound in the summer, Rye on Sunday and Larchmont on Saturday.
And New Rochelle.
And New Rochelle on Friday. So we've got 3. And in the winter time, since it is really cold to shop outside, we go inside of St. Thomas's Church right here on Mamaroneck Avenue. And we've got great produce and meat and eggs and cheese, pickles. Everyone loves pickles. So there's a lot of choice.
Yogurt.
Yogurt, yeah.
And these items are all from within 100 miles or so?
Yes, we even have a fisherman out of he fishes off of Montauk, so he's very popular, and that's a very local fisherman. We have farms from Tivoli and one from Riverhead, so the farms are pretty close. Yes.
And what about meat products?
We have a farm that comes down from the Catskills, so he's actually traveling 3 hours to get here.
So is it just that these products are fresh, or is it more than that?
They're raised by families, and so they're very small entities, but they have a lot of concern about the quality, and so what you're getting is really, whether it's a sausage, it's a handcrafted product, handmade. If it's yogurt, it's also a small batch. So these are very small farms, and they're very concerned about quality and freshness.
Well, these days you read about additives in food. Are any of these farm items, do they have additives in them?
We have very strict rules when we have a farmer come to us or somebody who makes a food. We don't allow the artificial colorings and preservatives and those kind of additives. So if somebody comes in with a product, we look at the label and say, why is this product in here? And if they can't take it out, we usually don't accept them as a vendor. So the labels have all good things in them.
And Elyssa, we laughed a little bit before the cameras got turned on about an item that you recently purchased in a store that had an orange netting over it.
Oh, yeah. I was at the market and I bought clementines, and they looked beautiful in the store. I brought them home, and I realized it was an orange netting that was making them look so bright. It was actually a a more dull color, but they were still delicious.
Yeah.
But they may not have appealed to me if I saw that duller orange. It was the brighter orange that struck me, which is not always mean that it's the tastiest fruit. So personally, I think that people are drawn to the farmers market because they want to know where their food is grown. They want to see if they can buy as many organic products as possible. People come in all the time asking me about organic products and what they should buy in that particular genre, whether they should focus on organic dairy or organic fruits and vegetables. And it's the #1 growing sector in the supermarket is organics.
Well,
and
then
I think you're probably seeing
let's
that.
get a definition of organic, because I think definitions in the food industry are important. I mean, what does free range mean? And what is organic?
Well, organic, it started, there was a man named, I have to look up his name, Sir Albert Howard from 1873, who was born and he died in 47, talked about how important it was to grow food and improve the soil and not use pesticides. And then there was a man in Pennsylvania, Rodale, who decided this was the thing. And so he started talking about organic gardening. Now, it just recently, basically, the federal government said we have to have standards. And so in 2002, they set up a list of standards that they consider organic. And those are followed by farmers. Some decide they want to be certified by the government and get that little green seal, and some don't. But many of the farmers are very small and they don't go for the certification, but you can talk to them, and if you want to find out how they grow, they'll say, no, we don't use pesticides, we improve our soil, we rotate our crops. But
we have it on the screen there.
Okay, there you go. And that's a good seal to look for. In the farmers market, many of the farmers who sell organic products usually go with something called a CSA model. They do a home delivery, or you can buy a share in the farm. But we try to get an organic farmer or two at the farmers market because we think it's very important. But the other farmers, since spraying pesticides is expensive, they don't do it just to do it. They only do it if they're going to lose the crop. So, but the certification for the organic standards took place in 2002, and
but something can still be called organic and not have anything in it, and even though it's not a certified organic, it's still
that's true.
But not legally.
Yeah.
To use the term organic in a marketing sense, it has to be a USDA certified organic.
And that goes for all products?
Yes, that's
It
true
does.
now.
Right. Right.
So that's something, Elyssa, that you work with. You generally counsel people to buy organics. They're the healthiest?
People are concerned about the synthesized pesticides and fertilizers that may be getting into their food, where don't really know the risks associated with them. And we don't know the risks associated over long term. So people want to minimize their risk as much as possible.
And we don't know that long term because they haven't been around that long.
Exactly. And so you have women who perhaps are pregnant and they are concerned about the health of their developing fetus.
Sure.
Small children, breastfeeding women. Everyone's really concerned because if you're eating these foods from birth to 100, you want to make sure that your food is as healthy as possible. And we all go to the market presuming that everything is, or that our food supply is safe and healthy. And there are definitely things that we can look for that can get us
every
there.
once in a while you get a news item on television about somebody who's changed labels on a product or taken the chicken out and rewrapped it, showing the other side. And you never hear about that in a farmer's market, though, I must say. No. Well, are the supermarket chains pretty safe, or you can't really say? I mean, I know that's not your area.
That's really not.
Yeah, the food system is a pretty complicated system, and there are just multiple places where food can get contaminated or can get affected along the way. And part of what makes one of the key differences, I would say, from a safety point of view, is that in the mainstream industrial food system, food is aggregated from lots of farms, commingled, packaged, and then shipped to lots of distributors who then ship to even more grocery stores. So if there's a problem upstream in terms of a contamination, that problem can get spread far and wide across the nation, as we saw in 2006 when spinach was contaminated. And we see that, on an ongoing basis, that happens. The difference then with the farmer's market is that you have one farmer selling his product to one customer. And whereas, something could happen in terms of a contamination, it's not going to affect a lot of people. So the risk is far less. So from that point of view, the farmer's market is a much safer option for food.
I think people also have heard of GMOs.
Right.
What does that stand for?
That's very complicated, but a GMO is a genetically modified organism, and then there is what it means is in the lab, a certain gene is inserted into another organism that it doesn't have originally. So, for instance, a lot of the soybeans were inserted with a gene that was an insecticide that when the plant grows, you can spray it with an insecticide and it won't kill the plant. So
actually an herbicide.
It's an herbicide. It's not an
So
insecticide.
it'll kill the weeds, but not the.
It kills
not
the
the
weeds
host
and not the
plant.
plant.
The whole idea here is that we want to impart the crop with beneficial properties or characteristics.
Right.
And the issue with it is that we want to know which of these crops have been genetically modified and which have not. And that is the biggest controversy right now, is because our farmers are not mandated to actually say if it's genetically modified organisms have been used in the production of that crop. And what we're hoping to achieve is labeling so that the consumer can make a choice of whether they choose to buy a GMO product or not. And that's the important issue.
But that's
here.
if they know what GMO means, and if
That's true,
I
but-
mean, is anything that's genetically modified necessarily harmful?
Well, the research, you might ask a question, is it bad nutritionally? But the FDA has not done any testing on any of these plants that have been modified. So there's no way for us to know.
So again, it's too new.
Once again, it's very new, and we don't know the long-term effects. Just now, a new apple was just approved, and it's by the Okanagan group. They call it the Arctic apple. You will cut it, and it won't brown. Sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? You cut your apple, you could cut it for your kids, send it to school with them. They're not going to open it up three hours later and find a brown, mushy apple. Their apple's going to look as pristine as if mom just cut it right then and there. Well, that's great, but the question is that potentially problematic to our health in some way? We don't know. It may not be. But then again, we're not sure. So we want to give consumers the opportunity to know for sure and make their own decision on whether they feel that's something that they want to.
But GMO is not as crazy as like getting a banana in the store and then it tastes like an apple. We're not talking about that, are we?
That is coming down the pipe. See, if you buy a vegetable in a hardware store and it says hybrid, and it's a zucchini plant, that's not genetically modifying.
You mean the
that's
seed?
breeding.
You mean
yes,
a seed?
a seed.
Okay, I'm thinking a hardware store.
For a zucchini. Well, that's a new way we should go. So, I mean, that is GMO, when genetically modified organism, I think everyone on the panel here is against it. A genetic engineering is also another, all these different specific things that are really hard to explain, but if you go into a hardware store and buy seeds and it's a hybrid, that's okay, because like Joseph Mendel, right, he was the one that developed that. Farmers have been doing that for for eons.
Selective breeding.
Selective breeding, but GMO has nothing to do with selective breeding.
So there are other issues to GMO. There's the fact that we don't know the long-term health effects. GMOs are really developed to accomplish many different purposes. It might be to accomplish a drought-resistant plant, or it might be an herbicide-resistant plant, or it might be a higher yield plant. So there are lots of different reasons why the industry develops GMO seeds. What I see as really a bigger problem is that they're patenting these seeds. So they basically own the copyright of the seed, so nobody else can save it, nobody else can plant it, unless they pay them a royalty. So what you're also having, which is kind of an issue that's affecting the industry, is a concentration of power within fewer and fewer, larger and larger companies, which is reducing the diversity of our food, of our agricultural products. So that's kind of the other side of the GMOs. You have the health side of it, and then you have the economic, political side of it, is who owns the food system? And what control do we as consumers ultimately have over our food system? And that's kind of a huge issue that is not all that well known and not all that well talked about in the popular press. But it's a major issue, and back in 2001, I think it was, the head economist of the USDA gave testimony to the Senate committee, talking about the concentration of ownership of the agricultural industry. And he was very concerned about it in terms of it raises prices on the consumer, it squeezes the farmer in terms of how much they make. So there are all kinds of, it reduces competition. So there are all kinds of issues that are happening on that side.
One way that we as consumers can change that is to buy fresh and support local farms.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus, so far, I think only 2 or 3 states have been able to pass GMO labeling, but Oregon lost, and I don't know which other states lost, but the big companies that have a lot to lose put a lot of money into defeating these GMO labeling bills. And it's a struggle.
So you'll go and you'll see a food that says non-GMO project verified, which means that they are using crops to make that food that do not have GMOs in it. And you're going to see more and more of that, and people are going to look for that on labels. And we have that up right now.
That's one of the best organizations, and there, you can only they can find only up to not 0.09%.
May we also say that you see GMOs in corn, in soybeans, and in sugar beets, and these are all ingredients that we tend to see in our processed foods.
The center of the story.
So, you know, high fructose corn syrup, soybean and soybean oil, corn, which is in a lot of products. And that's also the feed that is given to the livestock as well, may be that corn and soybeans. So it has its way of working its way into the system, and we really should have the ability to know whether our food is made with it or not.
Right. Now, besides GMO, you also, especially with the livestock issue, you have now the issue of antibiotics and hormones, which are used very heavily in raising livestock on a large basis.
And hogs, yeah.
That's to keep them healthy, but also to bulk them up before market.
Yes.
For
And
both
also,
purposes.
the factory farms, the animals are so close that they use so many antibiotics because the animals may get sick just because of their proximity. But you know, the CDC is trying to get the farmers to reduce the amount of antibiotics because it makes the bacteria resistant to resistant to other antibiotics. So it affects us too.
We have not talked about childhood obesity, which I wanted to get to, but that
Okay.
could be a whole other show. But the first thing we mentioned at the beginning of our conversation was if you're educated, if you know what to look for.
Right.
Can you give us your top tip about getting educated?
About how to get educated?
Is there a book to read? Is there? I mean, we could see a person in your profession.
Be curious. That's what I say. Ask a lot of questions. Go to the farmers markets. Talk to the farmers. Go into your market. I shop locally here in the supermarkets. I know the produce people in the grocery stores. I talk to them. So I actually have asked for certain products and they've gotten them for me, whether it be a processed snack food that I want to see on the shelf or finding out where they get their fish from. Be curious, that's what I would say. And the more people you speak with, you know, a registered dietitian like myself is a great place to start because you get really the information that you may be looking for, because everybody's coming at this from a different angle. You may come at it from a health perspective, somebody may come at it from what am I feeding my child, different diseases that you may have in your family, and just be curious.
Well, one of the things obvious when you're at a farmer's market is that you could talk to the person who raised it and harvested it and knows what's in it or not in it.
Right.
And it's fun as well. I mean, I know when I go to the farmer's market in Mamaroneck and Mr. Pickle is there and you could buy all that stuff. And
I'd also like to say is that when we talk about the food supply and we're all concerned about it, one of the most important things that I want people to think about as well is to just eat more fresh fruits and vegetables. Go to the farmer's market, try something new.
Learn to cook.
There really is a lot out there that...
And they know what's in season too.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that has the more in season something is, the more nutrients in that product probably.
Because you could probably get it from Mexico or someplace, which doesn't mean it's bad, but it means that it has to travel a further distance and, as you said, chance for contamination.
Right. Food that travels is usually picked green, and it's ripened in the transit process with chemicals. So it's another kind of aspect of fresher, healthier from closer. So cooking is really, you know, in terms of what people can do, just feel comfortable cooking. Start simple. And the other
don't eat out so much?
Right.
Well, yeah.
With all the restaurants we have in Mamaroneck and Larchmont and Rhinebeck and Harrison and
you know
all
what,
these
you don't
other
need,
places.
cooking is great and I really encourage people to do that, but you can really be very, very healthy and not be a good cook. You really can assemble things, put things together and choose the right ingredients that really are healthy. So don't be intimidated by that.
I got that advice actually from a farmer when I went to the market that had to prepare something because I didn't know, and he gave me some suggestions.
And also, if you go online, if you say, you know, what do I do with this kohlrabi? There are 150 recipes that are very simple.
You mentioned my website. If you actually go to my website, I also
Mention
have...
your website. Your website is?
www.ehnutrition.com.
Okay.
And I have a piece of my website called The Scoop, and The Scoop takes different food products and will give you a great recipe on what to do with it.
Okay. You have a website as well?
We have downtooearthmarkets.com.
Okay.
And we also have recipes and also
in
where
our
you
kitchen?
can, in our kitchen section, and also where you can go to the markets.
Now, you've got something fun coming up in Mamaroneck, don't you, this Saturday?
Probably.
A little music?
We have music.
Mix a little music with your food?
I think we have
Cooking
a cooking demo going on Saturday. So actually, we do have a cooking demo. And I think, where is it? No, in Austining, we have a cookbook author.
Ah, okay. Yes, we can travel. I mean, we're not limited to just Mamaroneck or Larchmont. The group that's coming in, I had it here somewhere, the group that's coming in on...
Shovel Ready String Band?
What's it called?
Is it the Shovel Ready or are they?
It was, you know, you'll have to go to see it.
You have to go to see it there. Or find out
And
from
try
our
something
website.
new.
Right. Well, listen, Miriam Haas and Jon Zeltsman and Elyssa Hurlbut, thank you so much for spending time with us. And we ran over a little bit, but I think it was a really interesting conversation. And I'd love you to come back and we can talk some more. And folks, don't go away. We'll be right back with more community stories. Please stay tuned.
So this week in sports, the Mamaroneck boys basketball team hosted Ramapo in a first-round playoff game. And this one went right down to the final minute. LMC TV sports producer Rob Moretti has the highlights of the LMC varsity sports game of the week.
LMZ TV sports producer Rob Moretti here with the highlights from the first round of the Section 1 Class AA basketball playoffs. The 8-seed Mamaroneck Tigers hosting the 9-seed Ramapo Griffins. And the Tigers get the ball rolling early. Dean DeLucia opening the scoring with a bank shot 3-0 Tigers. Ramapo storms back after a Tigers run, and they take the lead with this basket by Divine Caesar. He also draws the foul and would finish the three-point play. A couple minutes later, Alex Parkinson with the steal feeds DeLucia off the glass, and in Mamaroneck back up by 1. Final possession of the first quarter now. Wendell Floyd from NBA range to beat the buzzer. That gives Ramapo the edge heading into the second. Not to be outdone, Mamaroneck's Alec Arula opens the second with a three of his own to put the Tigers back on top. Tigers would trail by 5 at one point in the quarter, but they rally back and regain the lead here as Dean DeLucia drives through space to the hoop. Later in the second, with Mamaroneck trailing, DeLucia misses the three, but Wendell Floyd, trying to tip the rebound away, puts it in the basket. Easiest 2 points of his career for Will Gidden, who gets credit for being closest to the ball. Shortly thereafter, Arula pushes it up off a rebound, finds Miles Houghton, who lays it in with 2 seconds to spare before the buzzer. Your halftime score, 32-31 in favor of Mamaroneck. Early in the second half, the Tigers turn up the intensity on defense. DeLucia grabs the ball from Divine Caesar, forcing the jump ball call, which puts the ball back in the Tigers' hands. Tigers now up by 5. Griffins inbounding with just 2 seconds on the shot clock, and 2 seconds is more than enough for Wendell Floyd, a three. Next Ramapo possession, it's Cameron Haywood in the corner. Money. Griffins up by 1. We move ahead to the fourth, and what an action-packed quarter this would be. First, it's Wendell Floyd with the rebound and the bucket, putting Ramapo up by 6 with 6 minutes to play. But on the next possession, it's Alec Arula drawing the charge, and that would set up a Dean DeLucia basket to draw the Tigers closer. Then, after a Ramapo travel, Alec Arula makes the adjustment, nails the shot, and draws the foul. He'd make the free throw to make it a 1-point game and finish with 14 off the bench for Mamaroneck. That got Tigers ice hockey coach Mike Chaparelli pumped up. That's him leading the student section's defense chant. A few minutes later, Arula with the steal, DeLucia with the feed to Parkinson, and he's also fouled, makes the free throw. Tigers with their first lead since the third quarter. Now to the game's final minute. Ramapo looking to tie, but Dean DeLucia draws the offensive foul. That leads to this. We haven't said Miles Houghton's name much, but there he is. Now a 2-score game with 40 seconds to go. But hold the phone, Cameron Haywood again, and we're back to a 1-point game. Houghton would be fouled on the ensuing possession and nailed both shots. Then on the other end, Alex Parkinson with the block. DeLucia picks up the loose ball and is fouled with 10 seconds left. But why not one more big play? Jack Budill denies Divine Caesar with 5 seconds left. After the inbound, the three-pointer misses. Arula picks up the ball, and the Tigers rejoice. 58-53 is your final, and that pesky streak is over. Mamaroneck winning their first non-out-bracket playoff game in 38 years. The Tigers would then go on to drop the quarterfinal to top-seeded Arlington, 45-34. Remember, you can watch this game in its entirety this weekend on Cablevision Channel 77, Fios 34 at 8 p.m. and 1 p.m., and next week on demand at lmctv.org. For the Local Live, this is Rob Moretti.
Awesome game, go Tigers. The AARP is here to help local residents who qualify for free tax preparation and assistance. John Schifano has the story.
The Mamaroneck Public Library is offering free tax preparation assistance with the help of AARP tax aid volunteers if you meet the qualifications.
And today we're welcoming the AARP Tax Assistance Crew, very kindly set up by one of our staff members, and we're so proud to offer this service to our community. I'd like to have some of the actual tax preparation people speak and explain the process so that everyone here can get a good idea of what we can offer and how we can help you.
In Westchester, we have 20 sites, with Mamaroneck being the newest one, which opened last year. We did close to 70 returns last year. Hopefully, we will do more this year. But for the most part, we're able to take care of most needs of our low to medium income taxpayers.
It's a real advantage for the community because the service is entirely free. It's a walk-in basis, first come, first served. And this year we have 3 experienced preparers who are available to prepare your tax returns.
You can drop in any time on Fridays from 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m., February 6th through April 10th, in the community room on the first floor of the Mamaroneck Public Library. For the Local Live, I'm John Schifano, signing off.
So between school, sports, meetings, and having fun, do you have trouble keeping up with your family's schedule? Of course you do. A Pelham couple has a solution. Burbio.com is free and can help you organize your overscheduled family. Ashley Ballone has the story.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley Ballone, and today we're here in Pelham to learn more about a new business that can benefit our community. Stay with me to find out why. Do you often find yourself getting stressed out when it comes to organizing your calendar? Not anymore. Burbio.com founders Julie and Dennis Roach have created a free service that will make your life simpler. Here's how they solve this common problem.
So we have 4 kids and have both been really involved in lots of different community organizations. We ran a rec soccer league together and have done lots of stuff with schools and local sports, and found it really difficult just managing all of the communication coming in about events and activities for the things our kids were involved in, as well as being organizers trying to send out that information to the people in our community that needed to know it. And we looked and looked for a solution and really couldn't find anything. So thought, if we have this issue, probably a lot of other folks do too, so maybe there's a business there. And that's how Burbio was started.
For someone going on Burbio on the website for the first time, tell me what they can expect.
So you create an account on Burbio. It's very simple. You just put in your name, you make up a password, and you put in your zip code. The important thing about the zip code is once you go into the site, it's going to give you recommendations for calendars and events and things that are local for you.
Once you have your personal calendar set up, you are able to sync with your Apple or Google Calendar in a few easy steps. So for the Larchmont and Mamaroneck communities, what can one find when they go on your website?
Well, we have all of the elementary schools, the middle school, and the high schools up. We have all the school sports schedules up. We even have the sanitation schedules up, which can be very hard to get on your calendar because it's a PDF that's very difficult to read.
Burbio recently launched a new feature that allows parents to manage their children's carpool schedules in a free, fast, and easy way.
So we invite everyone to check out Burbio.com. If you're a parent, a group organizer, somebody in a carpool, it's very simple. Just go to www.burbio.com and check it out. And if you're interested, we've got some great instructional videos to help you show you exactly what to do and how to do it. But it is really free, simple, and easy. So check it out.
This is Ashley Ballone with The Local Live, signing off.
Good evening, Larchmont and Mamaroneck. I'm Anthony Carlo. Welcome to The Local Live. We connect you to your officials, members of the community, and the cutest pet of the week. Only news show that brings you a weekly update on the stories happening around you.
So you want to meet our pet of the week, Lucky. He is a sweet 8-year-old lab mix rescued from Nyack. He's house and crate trained. He loves to run and play, but he can also be a good couch potato to cuddle with on a lazy day. He gets along with cats and loves children. He's up to date with his shots, neutered, and microchipped. If you want to adopt Lucky, contact Janine from the Special Needs Animal Rescue and Rehabilitation Center by email. Janine, that's JEANNINE329 at optonline.net. And last, if our roundtable discussion has made you hungry for more information on sustainable food and farming, the Rye Nature Center is hosting an official webcast viewing party, Changing the Way We Eat. This one-day conference in New York City features the sustainable food and farming movement. The viewing party will be held this Saturday, March 7th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at 873 Boston Post Road in Rye. That's it for this week's Local Live. For more information on the stories aired, you can visit our website, lmctv.org, and click the Local Live tab on the menu. Remember, if you have any comments, questions, story ideas, or are looking to volunteer with us, you can send us an email at thelocallive@lmctv.org. I'm Polly Kreisman, and thank you for watching The Local Live.
Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.